have to make this quick because it's Wednesday and the volunteer arrives early today. Well, one of them does. The guy who likes a bacon butty. In fact, he could be in the car park having his bacon butty as we speak. But since last we spoke, I've read a fair few books, and I'm hoping that that's going to continue into this weekend. It's basically, I mean, it might not, because I just saw that I had 4 days off, so decided to spend them reading. Did get a few walks in there, got to say that. Made soup, made chilli. Basically, living the dream of being off work. Edited some Doris. Achieved a lot, really, considering it was only 4 days. Anyway, I'll talk about the books more later on. But it's also one of those where, apparently, Charlie deals with certain stresses by just secreting himself away with books. Who'd have thunk it? It's Friday. I am currently in work. Yesterday, I did nothing but read. Got through A Tidy Ending by Joanna, The Death of Francis Bacon by Max Porter, and started O. William by Elizabeth Strout. So once more, I have books to talk to you about. I just haven't found the time yet. This is what happens with overtime. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. We all know I'm here till 5. Then I'm going home. Probably watch a film. Finish that book. Also, Tidy Ending by Joanna Cannon comes out in April. I was lucky enough to get a proof copy, and I suggest that you pre-order it because it was fantastic. Dark. Did not expect that from this author, but still had that talking head style voice. Reminded me a bit of the Victoria Wood single plays that came out in Woodwork, or the book Men's Some Sauna in Thingamy Doodah or something like that. I've got the book, but dark, humorous, very perceptive, and I can't say anything about it too much because it will give it away. Nice little feather jacket here if you fancied it. It's Saturday, went home last night, finished reading another book, O. William by Elizabeth Strout, which means that in the last week I have read the entirety of the Lucy Barton series. There's 3 anyway. My name is Lucy Barton, anything is possible, O. William. I should probably talk about them at some point, but basically, Elizabeth Strout writes seemingly simple prose, and yet can't help but finding it so full. I think it's all with the under the surface. Another book where the unsaid is as important as what is said. Anyway, I've realised that I basically alternate the same 3 outfits on my days at work. I've been wearing this jumper for, of the 6 days I've worked over the last 2 weeks that we've been open, I've worn this 3 times. 4, 3, yeah, 3, I think. Anyway, I got complimented on it the other day, and I'm just hoping that it wasn't the customer who donated it. I've realised everything I'm wearing today came from the charity shop. Not a bad thing, it just goes to show that, you know, it could be worse. Selling the merchandise, well, I'm not selling this merchandise, I'm wearing it, that would be bad. Here till 5, go home, maybe read. I've not decided what I want to read next. The only reason I've read so much this week is because I've stuck to short books. But that's that. I don't even know if I'm putting these things together in a vlog. I just kind of started recording and it never went anywhere. You're currently lent against a size 6 men's shoe. A loafer? I never really learnt the difference between shoes. You've got no laces on anyway, just a slip-on. Well, yesterday afternoon it actually ended up being rather quiet. Snow came, very sleety sort of snow, and it just cleared the village entirely. Fine by me, I'd got my book sorted. But, well, actually, we've ended up with, me and my manager said to it, her idea, not mine, won't take credit for it. New children's section. Children's books are finally shelved as opposed to in a box with children's clothes above it. If this works, I'm going to be thrilled. And it also lends a nice bit of continuity through the shop with these children's shelves at the bottom. Then we've got shoes there, can't be helped. Going into the books. I spent a long time on the books yesterday. And then, by the time I'd finished, it was snowing, so no customers. And it's a bit dreary this morning, actually. My brother came down from Scotland last night. His girlfriend had a row with the mother-in-law. They've gone back at 6 o'clock this morning, which means that he was down here 6 plus 3, 9 hours. He did 9 hours in England before turning around and scarpering. It's a 4-hour journey. That's how much of a grudge my brother can hold. He's got a worse temper than I have, although to be fair, I like to think I've mellowed out over the years. It also comes with wanting to have a quiet life, and when you want to have a quiet life, you can't really get involved in too many arguments, apart from the usual stuff about money, my electric bill. It's not even mine, it should be split 5 ways, let's not get into it, 4 ways. Also food, can't be doing with food waste. These are the things I row about. You know, like if somebody opens something that's going off after something else, I'm very much eat by the use by date. They're very much eat what they want. Can't blame them too much, can they? Anyway, so he's gone back. But yeah, dreary day outside. I can imagine it's going to be a bit quiet here. Touch wood, this is fake metal. Have we got any wood around here? I don't think it's hollow. Not today, anyway. Alright. I should probably get the money in the till. I've got all of yesterday's rag bags to weigh today as well. I haven't done it yet because it was snowing. And the car park was awash with sleet and snow. And I didn't have my boots on. I don't have my boots on today, but it's only raining. Anyway, I'll have to have an haircut soon because this is when my hair was like this last time, my colleague complained, not the one in today, the one who's in on Monday. She didn't like it, thought it was too wild. And this is our new children's section. We had no clothes here originally, it was a continuation of the shoes, and now the books aren't in a box on the floor. And I just think it needs a tiny bit of tidying, but like that it looks like almost proper. It's cold and it's dreary, but that's just Monday for you. Yesterday I did nothing but read, which has been the case for the first 9 days of 2022. As we receive more bad news in the news, I retreat further and further into books. Indeed, I was even reading my own book in bed last night, Royally Doris, editing it. So naturally, the manuscript had to fall apart at a very crucial scene. It's fine. I think I've got all the pages in the correct order. I'll continue reading tonight. Because I'm in the midst of editing it and ready to send out to beta readers. Either way, I still haven't told you any of the books that I read last week. But yesterday I read Square Haunting by Francis Wade, and that is a book set on Macclesfield Square. I can't pronounce it. Everywhere in England is renowned for being spelt funny and pronounced completely differently. Anyway, it's about 5 different women, all artists and female pioneers of their generation, who all happen to live at some point in this same house on this square, or on the same square. I read it anyway, and I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, I know they said it was about 5 women between the First World War and the Second World War, and I should have expected that it would go into their struggles as women in that society, but I like that this focused, whilst it mentioned the struggles of women of the time, it had to focus more on their ambitions and what these women achieved, regardless of the fight and how society viewed them. But I should probably give more thoughts later. Also, there was a Heathcote Street. Apparently that was in London. Don't know whether it's still there. Shared a name with that. And at another point, the name of one of my father's landlords was in there. I thought, oh, they could be related. You know, money attracts money and that sort of thing. But yeah. I also read a poetry collection, but I need to give that one more time. I don't think I liked it, but I don't want to say without thinking about it thoroughly. I'm constantly having to hunch in these videos. Probably not good for the spine. I have to say, I did end up having some favourites in Square Haunting as well, such as Dorothy L. Sayers, who is an author that I wanted to read ever since I watched the Lord Peter Wimsey adaptation with my grandmother as a child, and still haven't got around to it, but I didn't know much about her life, so enjoyed that aspect of this. And I like that the writer discusses how certain women within here were historians who wanted to look at the ordinary people, and it felt like that's exactly what this author did as well. Was she took this idea of looking at the ordinary people and how war and the announcement affected them, and put it into this book. Now, perhaps they can't be called ordinary by today's standards, you know, they did have a fair bit of money behind them, but we do end up eventually acknowledging the privileged background the women here came from in order to do everything they did and achieve what they did. But at the same time, what we have to remember is it was perhaps a good way to utilise their privileges to fight for their rights, and then in doing that, over time we were able to uplift more people. I don't know. Either way. Today, I don't know what I'm going to read, but I am questioning beginning the first Inspector Montalbano book. I don't know whether it's going to be that. I don't know if I want to read more non-fiction, or whether my pursuits will be entirely Criminal. And whilst we wait for the kettle to boil so that I can get myself another cup of coffee, well, it's the first cup of coffee of the day. Whilst we wait for the kettle to boil so as I can get myself a cup of coffee and actually wake up, I thought I'd come and stand here because I'm rather fond of this lighting and I just wanted to see it again today. I'd looked forward to going on a long walk tomorrow around Macclesfield Forest because I've not done my long walk in a while. I've done variations on it, but never the proper long walk that takes me up to the benches where I've shown you pictures of the reservoir and all that. I mean, I do live near the Peak District, but Sally's coming to season, so can't really take her out, and would feel very uncomfortable just going for a walk on my own without the little dog, unless it was just the old route down the towpath that she didn't like. Always afraid of geese, that one. I'm also planning on watching the Elena Ferrante The Lost Daughter adaptation that's on Netflix, because if you didn't know, I read that last year, and since that film's come out, the video has become one of the most popular on my channel where I reviewed that book. Well, I didn't really review it, I just gave my thoughts. But I rather enjoyed it, and I want to see what they've done with the film. I know it's completely different. I believe they've moved the location from Italy to somewhere in America, but I still want to watch it and share my thoughts. But I also really want to try and get into watching films. I've been trying for over a year now. Last year I wanted to watch 52 films. I watched 30. So I need to up me game. I watched Dinner Ladies about 50,000 times though. Countless episodes last of the Summer Wine. That's got to count for something. I don't know when I'm planning on doing that. Probably tomorrow. I've got some other films I want to watch, like the new Suicide Squad. Got that for me and my mother to watch and still haven't got round to it yet, so there's a lot to be doing. Also, film recommendations. I've had them off loads of years, still not watched them, and I apologise. They're all in a document somewhere for me to go back and look for these films and watch them. But if you've got any film recommendations, do send them my way. Note that I like adventure films, and I don't go in for gore or any sort of body horror. Don't like that. If you're going for mutilation and torture, keep me out of it. I am currently living in this oversized, blanketed hoodie situation. It's now Wednesday, and I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to cobble this video together. I'm also aware that you're on a bit of a diagonal right now, and we're just going to have to deal with that. So, firstly, completely butchered the author's name of Square Haunting. It's Francesca Wade. I don't know what was going through my head when I told you the title the other day. Anyway, I finally put a review on Instagram about that. I've been trying to do that. Just put a picture on every day. You know, utilise the social media platforms a bit. I don't know. It's one of those, I mentioned it to Sarah of Hardcover Hearts last year. I kind of was trying to scale back social media use, which is why I counted, and I think I had 33 Instagram posts last year. Twitter just changed into me sharing links to my videos because it kind of felt a bit like a cesspit, I won't lie. And whenever I went on, I'd find myself getting a bit sad. We're now the 12th of January. Are we? Let's find the book. Here it is. We're now the 12th of January, and I have read 13 books with the intention of reading another today, which is The Cat Who Saved Books by Sosuke Natsukawa and was translated by Louise Kawai. And this is a bit of a surreal, fantastical tale in which, what's his name? Rintaro, so far, I'm not very far into it, but Rintaro's grandfather has died, and he's in this bookshop, and then this ginger tabby cat's come along and asked him to help him go and save this book. And when they get there, he's been told, well, if you don't save this book, we'll be trapped here for eternity. And I think that's going to happen 3 times. It's feeling a bit like Before the Coffee Gets Cold, in terms of we need to do this and find some sort of solace before the coffee gets cold, that sort of thing, or we'll be trapped for eternity. Blended a bit with A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, with the whole thing of, well, these different visits. But we'll see how it goes. So I'd read Square Haunting, then Monday night I read The Shape of Water by Andrea Camilleri, and this is translated by Stephen Sartarelli. I wanted to read an Inspector Montalbano book for years, been watching the TV adaptation for years, and the TV show has humorous moments. This is very fast-paced and isn't really what you'd expect from a mystery novel. Usually when there is a murder happening, you're going to find a culprit and there's going to be some sort of resolution to that, but that isn't necessarily what Camilleri is doing here. It seems that he wants to shine a light on what the political situation of the time this book was released in 1993. Indeed, at the back, the translator has included some discussion of what was going on in Italian government at the time to give context to the reader as to what Camilleri was discussing. I have the first 10 books in that series to read, but then yesterday I chose to read the Marlow Murder Club by somebody Thorogood. That one was recommended by Stuart of The Library is Open last year, and is written by the creator of Death in Paradise. Judith is a 77-year-old woman who likes swimming naked in the Thames, and when she is taking one of her evening swims, she hears a gunshot, which propels her into this investigation where the murders start piling up, and she ends up discovering new friends and opening her life up a bit. It was a very good introduction to a series and appealed to my sense of humour. There were a few things where I was reminded of my own mystery novel, An Heir to Murder, in terms of the way things were going. And again, it had that format of a crime novel, which isn't a bad thing, you know. It's okay for a story to follow the same sort of basic plot structure for a genre. If it's done well, it was done well. It was humorous. The characters were eccentric enough that they propelled the story onwards. And I was a fan and look forward to reading more of this. Indeed, I was trying to get my mother to read it, but I don't think she wants to. It was also a bit different in that you really knew who the culprits were from the beginning, and it was less of a whodunit as opposed to a why done it, how done it, and how can we prove it. And I like that. I like that a bit. So, yeah, at the moment I do kind of... Nope, just kick you. At the moment, I am still secreting myself away in the house. Sally is currently in season, and I just don't feel comfortable taking her out, because most of the places where we walk are a bit busy, and I don't know what the best time would be to walk down the towpath to avoid people, but you don't want to put other people into that situation, especially near open water. I know it's a canal, but the dog's been in there enough times. I keep her on a lead, but a lot of other people don't have their dogs off leads, so that's that. And I'm also working on getting the final Doris book edited. I have now completed a full read through because I've been editing the first part and then reading the rest of it at night. I might have changed the last line. I don't know. I've asked my mother about it, and we're both a bit like this. I want it to sound like Harold's voice, but I also want it to sound like a definitive end. And the change I want to make sometimes reads well to me, and sometimes I think it doesn't have that finality to it that I think the earlier line did. So we'll see how I feel about that going forwards. Reading it, I find a few times where I have repeated jokes, but that's something that has always happened. I always find places where I have repeated jokes. It's just the nature of things. And yeah, this evening I have my Italian conversation with the customer. She brought me this to translate, which is about the Sumerian people, because she's discovered that I quite like history. So we've moved on from the dinosaurs, we've done the ancient Greeks, well, specifically the Spartans. So now we're on to the Sumerians, and I'm planning on translating this beforehand. But we have learnt a new word. Sviluppo means develop. I want to get some of it translated before speaking to her, because we do sometimes have issues where I know the English word, but she doesn't yet know the English word, so sometimes it's the same word, just pronounced differently, and it can be a bit difficult. I also want to tell her about the entire box of books that we had donated to the shop that are all to do with Italian language learning, and how I'm going to go through them and hope to find further ways of learning the language. But something that we did have donated was All Passion Spent by Vita Sackville-West, an author I've wanted to read for a while. Oh, but apparently this is the fictional companion to Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, another book that I want to read. So maybe I should read A Room of One's Own first. I do want to read more Virginia Woolf, especially after finishing Square Haunting. But this is All Passion Spent here. We also have Ogni Passione Spenta, which is the Italian edition. Whoever learnt Italian before clearly read Vita Sackville-West and then bought the Italian version. But this was translated by Alessandra Scalero and has an introduction by Barbara Lenati. I know that ogni usually means every. I'm afraid that my Italian ain't yet there to understand what is meant by tanto a lungo era durata la vita di Henry Leolf Holland, primo conte di Slani, che il pubblico aveva cominciato a considerarlo immortale. So clearly, something's considered immortal, and la vita di Henry Leolf Holland is the life of... Does he have a bit of a long life? Shall we see? Shall we go to here? Henry Leolf Holland, 1st Earl of Slane, had existed for so long that the public had begun to regard him as immortal. Well, I was close enough. Somebody was getting recognised as being immortal, weren't they? I should have got that from Che il Pubblico, who the public had started to... Yeah, it says it right there. I tell you, I'm gonna have to work harder, aren't I? We're nearly 2 years into Italian learning now, and I still can't read the language well. Still sticking to me comic books and children's books. Anyway, I have been considering doing a mid-month wrap-up, but we'll see if that happens, just because I've read so much. And this is the longest clip I've recorded. You can tell I'm comfortable. Alright then. I'll be off. I'm just going to put a stop to this video here. I have been recording clips on and off since the start of the year, and not a single one of them has yet been compiled together in a video. Indeed, last night I was going back over the vlog that I'm doing for all the Agatha Christie books that I read between November and December, and I don't even know if all the clips are still there. So I might have to record a few more bits for that, which won't be fun at all. But basically, I have been reading a lot of books. I have secreted myself away the last fortnight since the start of the year, and I've read a lot of short books. I have finally read the 3 books from Elizabeth Strout with the Lucy Barton series. My Name is Lucy Barton, Anything is Possible, and Oh William. Elizabeth Strout is a fantastic writer, writing seemingly simple prose that could err on the side of pretentious but doesn't, and I particularly like that. I like that My Name is Lucy Barton again, it felt really simple, but there was so much going on, and it is a book that begs to be reread so that you can see more and more that is not said until you get to Anything is Possible and Oh William, where these things are actually explicit in the text. And you have the idea that now that Lucy Barton has opened herself up to an audience, she's beginning to understand more about herself. Actually, trying to remember all the books that I've read is difficult. I have read Square Haunting by Francesca Wade. Let's not get that wrong. I've told you that already. What did I read after that? Had I read the first Inspector Montalbano, The Shape of Water, La Forma dell'Acqua by Andrea Camilleri, and I can't remember the translator, but I will leave a note there. I have read The Marlow Murder Club by Robert Thorogood, who is the creator of Death in Paradise. I don't know whether I talked about this one, but a fantastic murder mystery that is more of a how done it and a why done it as opposed to a who done it, because from the beginning the murderer is very obvious, but there's no way that this person could be the killer. There's literally no way, because they have a very cast iron alibi, and it's more about, I'd say more about the female friendships of these women that are so often seen as outcast by society that they kind of past their sell-by date. You have it beginning with Judith, this 77-year-old woman who has kept herself to herself for the last 50 years, and she has inherited a house from an auntie. Yes, I did note the similarity between Alice Valentine and Judith. My book. Did my book come out first? Probably, but nobody knows about An Heir to Murder. Apart from you lovely people. I'm never calling you lovely again. It did not fit. It did not work. You horrible lot. Oh, someone's here trying to donate. Will we let them? Will we let them? Someone from upstairs came. He is wearing rather baggy jeans, and I feel like he ought to be spoken to about that, because yeah, if you drive a BMW you don't need to be wearing baggy jeans, or maybe that's the reason he's got to wear baggy jeans. Spent too much money on his car, can't afford good trousers. So yeah, Marlow Murder Club. So Judith, yeah. Then you have Susie, who is a local dog walker, and she's a bit of a one. And then you have the vicar's wife, Bex, and they just join together and end up investigating these murders. Very much, I thought that if this was ever to get adapted, it would work as that show that they put on in BBC One in the afternoon entertainment. It's humorous and cosy, quaint, quiet, all those things, with a very good sense of humour running throughout. My Christ, he got upstairs quickly. He's even opened a window and got the lights on. It's the one where the cat saves books. I think I spoke about that already. Anyway, I read that one. If you're a book lover, you will love this book. It's all about the power of literature, what books mean to people, and although we might think that books are a dying thing, there are enough book lovers in the world to keep them going. And yeah, that was good to read about. I will have a more substantial review of that at some point. I felt a lot of empathy for the main character, who is a young man who they had a Japanese term for, who again secrets himself away from the world. And I was like, oh great, we're talking about me here, and just reads his books and doesn't let the world in. And yeah, then went on to At Mrs. Lippincote by Elizabeth Taylor, and yeah, that is the very first book that Elizabeth Taylor ever did right, and you get to see all of the beginnings of her themes that would come up in later works. A woman in a marriage that you can see the cracks in, and she's very much, her name's Julia, and she's had to move to Mrs. Lippincote's house because her husband's been based on an RAF base nearby during the war, but there are cracks in their marriage, and she very much doesn't want to just keep calm and carry on like the world is telling her to. She wants to address all of the concerns she has. She's had a baby that died. She wants to be allowed to grieve for this baby, but and she wants to be allowed to feel, but unfortunately the society that she's in at the time doesn't really want emotional women. They want women that will stay at home and be housewives, and she isn't sure she wants that life. And I liked Elizabeth Taylor's wit here. I feel like with it being her first book, she didn't restrain herself so much, and she just put everything onto the page, whereas later on I feel like there is a bit more nuance there. I like that you can see what she's beginning, you can see the starts of those themes. There are a lot of them, there are a lot of themes in here. I did say on Instagram, I don't know whether the chaos of the themes is just because Elizabeth Taylor wanted to get down all of her concerns about the war. Later on in the post-war period, she was able to address the concerns she had and see whether anything had changed in the world from that. And I think that's everything I've read this week. And because of that, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna end this video and maybe post it at some point. I'm going through the same, I was gonna say 3, but I'm going through the same 2 outfits at work. I just keep alternating them. Technically I just keep alternating the jumper and wearing something different underneath, but you know, I'm not lifting my jumper for everybody at work. Anyway, I'll be off. If you've read any of the books that I've discussed, then, well, I haven't discussed them. If you've read any of these books and would like to discuss them, then please feel free to do so in the comments. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.